everyone has heard the term hit and run accident, and it's very self-explanatory, but when you're involved as a victim in a hit and run accident, that means another driver has caused you to be injured and fled the scene. Hit and run. There's two big categories of hit and run victims. There's a pedestrian that's walking along the street or near the street and they are hit by a vehicle. And then there's cyclists. Those are the two biggest categories. Since 2019 in Florida, the percentage of victims of these kind of hit and run accidents has actually gone up significantly. Much of that is due to the distracted nature of people's driving habits these days, mainly because of the smartphones and other devices in the car that have people's attention. The less you're paying attention to the road and the surroundings of the road, it's very easy, as everybody can probably relate to not notice a cyclist or a pedestrian that's walking legally on the side of the road or driving their bike legally within a bike lane near the road. And when those accidents occur, it's really important that law firms get involved quickly so they can do the investigation of the scene, get evidence from the scene. If there's witnesses, get statements from the witnesses so that the car can be identified. We're going to post a blog post that relates to these hit and run accidents that has a lot of links in it to the data that we're using to give you the statistics in this video. But I think what's important to know is that you also, even if you only get a couple of digits on the tag and a description of the vehicle, it would help immensely the law firm helping you to try to identify the driver of that vehicle, because you can run searches on even partial tag numbers. You don't have to have the whole tag number if you have a pretty good description of the vehicle itself. The statistics also show that most of these happen either right at dawn or at dusk in the evenings. And so it's really important when these events happen for the person that's injured or somebody with them to do a good job of trying to figure out, can I get a partial tag number? Can I get a good description of the vehicle? And then jotting that down somewhere in real time so they don't, the stress of the injury and the situation is going to take away from your memory. So the quicker you can either report that to somebody, call somebody, or text somebody and describe it to them via your phone or some device, the better. It'll help the investigation side of this. Many times people believe, oh, well, the police will be able to find the hit and run suspect. Well, many times that's not the case because the police only have as much information as you have at the scene. And while they can access information like cell phone data and cell phone usage if they have a suspect, that alone is not typically enough to convince a police officer to bring criminal charges, because remember, in a police criminal case, the burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a very high burden. It's the highest standard of proof in our legal system. In a civil case, the ones that we work on, the lawsuit only requires us to prove more likely than not that the person was responsible for the injury. And we don't have to narrow it down to the actual person behind the wheel. All we have to do is narrow it down to a vehicle, because in Florida, the owner is as responsible as the driver for anything that happens in that car. So it's important to even if you feel like there's a criminal case that's proceeding, it's important for you to reach out, if you think there's a possibility of a civil case, to reach out to a lawyer and retain a personal injury lawyer to help you in your hit and run case very quickly, so that the investigation for the civil case can also start even while the criminal investigation is going, because we're really on different tracks and different paths. And sometimes, I won't say all the time, we are more motivated to get the investigation done, especially if there's not a fatality. Many times if there's not a fatality, the police don't have as much of an interest in seeking criminal prosecution in the case. So it naturally falls to a civil case, which I think they would readily admit. So if you have questions about a hit and run accident, whether you're a cyclist or a pedestrian, you can find us on the web at zarzaurlaw.com, or you can call us at 855-HIRE-JOE, and we'll be happy to provide you with more information.